Good afternoon or morning, everyone. This is Jeffrey from Parker Dewey. We will let the Zoom room populate and we'll kick off the webinar in about 2 minutes. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So while we're waiting for everyone to populate, how much time do you think we all spend waiting for Zoom rooms to populate before webinars? And is it more or less time than we spend asking people to go off mute? I wish I could calculate that.
I'm sure there's a study out there, Jeff, that has captured all of it.
We should have a smart Northeastern student do it. Provide an analysis to Zoom about the amount of time and savings and whatnot. Okay, I am showing noon 01 Eastern. It looks like the Zoom room is fully populated. Good to see everyone. So let's formally kick this off. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jeffrey Moss, the founder and CEO of Parker Dewey. Really excited to be here for today's session with our friends from Northeastern University. Candidly, this is kind of a fanboy moment for me as a big believer in experiential learning. I mean, having named our organization after Francis Parker and John Dewey, being able to work with Northeastern is just an honor. They literally are the sort of the creators and biggest advocates for experiential learning and the benefits of experiential learning in driving both academic outcomes for learners, but also supporting employers in more effectively engaging, assessing, building relationships, and hiring. So again, it's a true honor to be here. For today's discussion, we're going to talk about a really innovative program Northeastern is doing called STEP, and I'm joined by a couple of our colleagues from Northeastern. What we'll do is we'll go through the program a little bit during the session. We'll certainly leave time for questions. Please feel free to use the chat or Q&A if you have questions. We'll try to answer them as we go through, but we'll also leave some time at the end for it. Yes, the recording and slides will be shared afterwards. So again, you'll get an email with all of that information. And one of the things that's most exciting about this program as we go through is what we're going to discuss today are actionable ideas. These are things that anyone on this call can bring back today and put into action. This is not something that requires a heavy lift. This is not something that requires a ton of sort of planning 6 months, 9 months, 12 months in advance. These are best practices that you can leverage right now to support your organizations, but also provide sort of valuable experiences for the incredible Northeastern students. So real quickly, I'm going to give you 2 seconds on Parker Dewey. We are a 10-year-old organization focused exclusively on providing these short-term paid professional projects that we'll talk through. We call them micro internships. And we do it in a way that obviously supports the mission of incredible organizations like Northeastern, but also supports employers, helps employers, again, get to know students earlier in the process, build relationships, serves as a feeder for programs like co-ops, like internships and other things. And again, this isn't a newfangled idea. This is something that has been around for about 10 years and has seen a ton of success with organizations ranging from startups to Fortune 100 programs. So really excited about the STEPs program and these STEPs projects. And with that, let me turn it over to my colleagues at Northeastern who can tell you a little bit more about their program, and then we'll dig into some of the nuts and bolts.
Great. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thanks for the warm introduction and praise of Northeastern University. We appreciate it. Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Boyle. I serve on the aptly named Experiential Partnership Development Team here at Northeastern. We're a group based out of our chancellor's office. And really our role, my role on the team, is to help support companies locally, nationally, and globally around identifying ways in which Northeastern can help solve for their talent acquisition and workforce development needs. So as Jeffrey mentioned, Northeastern is an experiential University. We're rooted in that concept of education where all of our students, regardless of whether you're a first-year student or a PhD candidate, get some type of experiential opportunity to complement one's academic or professional pursuits. So we have a variety of different ways for students to gain that experiential opportunity while coming to Northeastern. That is most notable or most prominent in our co-op program. Co-op is something that has defined Northeastern for well over 115 years. It's really kind of the signature defining characteristic of the university. For those of you that don't know, co-op allows our students to alternate between periods of academic study when they're in the classroom for a regular semester with periods of full-time work when they leave the classroom and go and work at a company for an extended period of time. Typically 6 months, can be a little shorter or a little longer, depending on the experience. But that is kind of the most prominent experiential pathway that we offer at Northeastern, but we do other things as well. And that's what we're here to talk about today, this new experiential, this new innovative program called NU STEP. Before I turn it over to my colleague, Laura, just a little bit more about Northeastern for folks who don't know on the next slide. Again, we are based here in Boston. We've been in existence as an institution for about 126 years, but over that span, we've certainly been providing our students that experiential opportunity through co-op and other things. We've grown as an institution. Our footprint has grown significantly, particularly over the last decade, where we've branched out and opened 14 campuses across the US, Canada, and Europe. And we will probably be opening more campuses over the next few years. But we are a global campus. We are a tier 1 research institution. And we work with 4,000 partners that support our co-op and other experiential programs, both locally and nationally and globally. So we are really excited about the opportunity to continue to grow our experiential footprint and bring this opportunity to you all today. And as Jeffrey said, these are things this program in particular is something you can implement, right away. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Laura Engel, who will walk you through the new program.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Jeffrey, and hi, everyone. Let's not give up on co-op too quickly here, even though we're talking about new steps and projects. This model of experiential project work that we've called New STEP does align with the co-op model. We're building a bridge to our most in-depth form of experiential learning, which, as Jim just described, is co-op. So participating in New STEP, sponsoring experiential project work for our Northeastern University students is going to connect you with these higher ready students, connect you with our emerging talent. Our students are very competitive in all industries. Our application and acceptance rate shows it. You're able to use these experiential projects as sort of an elongated interview and experience their skills firsthand. They're also very short-term projects. And so again, it's not that long-term, in-depth co-op commitment, although we do hope that it builds the bridge to co-op and sort of fills a gap until you as an organization are ready in bandwidth and budget for that co-op opportunity for you and students. And then a New STEP, in partnering with Parker Dewey here, we're hoping to provide you with access to students that may not have been familiar with your company before. I know a lot of students are getting onto Parker Dewey and specifically to Northeastern's platform on Parker Dewey. And so you will be in front of thousands of students very, very quickly. So what is a New STEP? What is our experiential project model? Kristen, if we can move on to am I in charge of the slides now? All right, here we go.
No, I got it. I'm a little slow today. I'm sorry.
It's going to say I have the power now. So what are New StEPs? What is this innovative experiential project model that we're piloting here, or really in our beta phase, I would say? These are short-term paid professional projects. And that's the differentiator, is that these are paid gig projects for our students. We've done the unpaid projects. We've done projects that we embed in our coursework that are a bit more low threshold. This is the marketplace now. This is where you can connect directly with our students and do that gig work that I know they're hungry for. I hope you can think of some as well to post on the platform. So the projects will involve a specific deliverable that you'll think up, or that my team and our Parker Dewey colleagues can help draft for you, as opposed to ongoing or regular scheduled tasks that you have at your company, because again, this is a quick interface between you and students. They're short term. Our templates on the platform are between 10 and 40 hours, but you can customize as well. So think about what your business needs uniquely. They're on demand. You can post anytime on a rolling basis. Our students are pretty much always engaged in their career development and always taking classes also. So they're constantly logging in to this platform, to others, to do their courses and to engage however they can. So they'll be looking at your projects. These are paid projects, but they're fixed cost. And I know firsthand that Parker Dewey makes it so simple to pay the student. It's a really seamless interface. It's really, really nice and easy for you. And the projects are really professional. Our students are used to experiential learning in a professional environment. They're doing it right inside their courses, and they're doing it outside their courses too, now in this way as well. So our students, again, top tier students, they bring a wealth of talent, and we hope that you'll engage with them. So I'm going to pass it back to Jeffrey. Oh, before I do, I do just want to introduce my colleague, Sarah, quickly. If you reach out to, and I'll populate in the chat too, our email addresses. If you're interested in experiential project work, either New StEPs or in that in-course model that I briefly mentioned, Sarah will likely be your first contact with the university. So I'll make sure to put Sarah's email in the chat. And then Jim can be your direct contact on co-op if you want to jump to a co-op as well. And I think I'll just pass it right back to you, Jeffrey, to continue talking about StEPs.
Thanks so much, Laura. To beat a dead horse a bit, I apologize. We think about experiential learning as a portfolio of opportunities for employers to engage with learners. Again, whether it's the co-op, whether it's the internship, whether it's the in-class assignment, the CAP, these are all great experiences. New StEPs fits in with those, not as a replacement, but as a complement. So for the organizations on the call that haven't yet experienced the Northeastern students through co-ops or otherwise, what a great, easy, low-lift way to get to know them. For those organizations that are already working with Northeastern students, whether it's with co-ops or otherwise, this again becomes a complement. It also becomes, and I want to hit on something Laura said, a great way to differentiate your organization when you're recruiting. The Northeastern students, as Laura and Jim alluded to, are highly in demand. They're smart, hardworking, have the skills. This is a great way to build your brand with the students and get in front of them in the way they want to be recruited. So when we think about the New StEPs, we think about them in two ways. First of all, as Laura alluded to, they're a perfect way to get on-demand help for short-term projects. We call these the we shoulds and the I shouldn'ts. And we'll talk about these as we go through, but think about all the times that you're sitting at your desk saying, hey, we should go research competitors on blank, or I shouldn't be doing it. It's valuable, it's important, it's professional, but I have 10, 15, 20 years of professional experience. This is a necessary project, but it's just not the best use of time for me. New StEPs are great opportunities for that. The second way to use it is very intentional as a feeder, again, for your existing recruiting efforts. And one of the things we often do with companies is we'll actually take full-time job descriptions that they have. And you can see an example on the left. And we'll unpack those into very specific micro internships that still provide that value of the project itself, but to Jim's point, also provide what's essentially an interview. They provide insights onto the skills that the student has prior to potentially the co-op or the internship or the full-time role. And this is really, really important. And you'll notice, again, an entry-level data marketer, one of the components of it is content strategy. So a perfect new step could be content performance reporting, compile and analyze data. What I love about a project like this is not only is it assessing the technical skills, can the student use the various tools that Northeastern is teaching, but it also assesses those other core competencies. Again, some people call them soft skills. I candidly don't like that term because it minimizes, we call them core skills, things like critical thinking, problem solving, coachability. And what I love about this is the assessment of those core skills is built into the entire new step process. So as we'll go through and show you how it works, what's really, really important is when the Northeastern students are applying to the new steps that you're posting, you're able to see things like, are they a self-starter? So again, the new steps aren't required of Northeastern students. The Northeastern students raise their hand and apply to work on your specific project. So again, you're able to see, are they motivated? Are they a self-starter? Are they interested in your organization? Are they showing sort of attention to detail and short answer questions? You'll be able to see as they're completing the projects, how do they communicate with you? Are they taking feedback and applying it? Again, that coachability aspect that's so difficult to assess from a traditional resume or interview, but we know can make all the difference in a great hire. And then ultimately the work product from what they deliver. Are they demonstrating that problem solving? Are they demonstrating sort of the intellectual curiosity and the professionalism, and also those more technical skills if they're required? The reason New Steps works is because it's how students want to be recruited. We do an annual survey of college students and recent grads every year, asking about their engagement, asking about how they learn about companies, asking when they learn about organizations. And one of the things that jumped out at me was 95% of college students said short-term paid professional projects are how they want to be recruited. Again, it's not a replacement for the co-op, not a replacement for the relationships you're building on campus, but a complement. It helps that student who's interested in data analytics recognize that a brand like New Balance that they might be a huge fan of, they might wear them run, but they're thinking New Balance may only have marketing roles. Through these projects, they can see New Balance has roles in data analytics or artificial intelligence or CRM or accounting or finance. Again, they want to learn about those opportunities. One of the things that was also very interesting to me is over 75% of students said they want to begin that career exploration during first and second year. But when you think about so many of the traditional programs, they're really focused on those juniors and seniors. One of the things I love about New Steps is it's a great way to build relationships earlier with the students when they're most interested in exploring, allowing them to demonstrate their skills and you to see their skills, but also building that competitive advantage in recruiting them for your co-ops or your internships or the full-time roles. So let's get very tactical for a minute. As Laura said, we try to make it easy. The internal joke is everything about the platform has to be Jeff-proof. It has to be simple enough that I would actually use it as a busy professional. So it's essentially 3 steps. And again, we'll walk through each of these. Post your project, select the Northeastern student who you want, and then the work gets done. And again, we have a great library. We'll share the link in the chat with pre-crafted templates based upon some of the best practices. So let's go through that. Again, posting the project. All we need to know is what needs to be done. So for instance, I am a marketing professional. I need someone to do a competitive analysis of other companies in the ABC space, do the research, pull together this key data, and put together a presentation for me highlighting competitive dynamics. Or maybe I'm in finance. I want someone to review SEC filings of companies that have recently gone public to pull data around equity comp plans. Or maybe it's technology. I'm being asked by my boss to, quote unquote, go figure out AI. What a great example of a project that, again, may not be the best use of time for you, or there's just not enough hours in the day. The Northeastern students are excited to do these. And again, we have a ton of examples of these templates at the link that we'll share, but we're also happy to work with you. So again, create the project, let them know when it's due, and any other details that you want to share. At that point, to Laura's point, the students are logging in. They're logging in every day. Now, granted, if it's the middle of finals week and the project is due that week, they're probably not going to apply. But again, I just wrapped up finals, or it's a slower schedule. This project with New Balance, this project with HubSpot, this project with KPMG, this project with the smaller company I never heard of just came up. It looks interesting. Let me raise my hand and apply. We very intentionally don't believe in one-click applications. What we found is it becomes overwhelming for employers, and it becomes difficult to determine who actually do I want to spend time with. That's why for every one of these new steps, students have to answer at least one question. Why should we pick you? You can ask other questions. Describe your experience with AI. Describe how you would create a data visualization using Power BI, whatever you want. You'll then get to see the profiles of all of the students who apply, along with their short answer questions. Again, giving you great insights that are often difficult to find, as I alluded to before, from a resume or even from an interview. You can then also see other information the students share, again, whether it's resume, LinkedIn, etc. And at that point, you can click a button and select who you want. Really, really simple. Again, unlike a summer internship, you're not on the hook for 10 weeks. You don't want to spend 5 hours doing all these. This is a quick project. And what we'll find is most companies will select a student based purely upon that short answer question. Think about it almost like a phone screen. At that point, what we typically suggest is doing a quick kickoff conversation with the student you select. I do this all the time, where, hey, Jeff, I'm excited to work with you. Here's what I'm looking for. I'd like you to create a presentation, send me a draft by next Tuesday. The student may have a couple of questions. Great. But it's up to you how much or how little you want to engage. Our goal is not to add to your workload, but to make your life easier while providing the students a valuable experience and you the opportunity to also get to know someone who maybe you want to engage going forward in the co-op or other program. Again, we want this to be easy. Total time requirement for a company tends to be under an hour. And that includes everything from posting the project, selecting the student, doing a kickoff, and sort of reviewing the work. So for a task that would take you 5, 10, 20 hours to do, it's a really efficient, effective program, but it also provides that valuable opportunity. One of the things that's happening when the students are doing the work is they're getting a series of nudges both from us and Northeastern. Hey, Jeff, you're doing this project. You might want to engage with an alum, or you have access to faculty members. Why don't you go to office hours and ask for feedback? Again, really reinforcing that experiential learning benefit. We also have an entire client success team based here in Chicago that's happy to help. So if you get stuck along the way, if you're unsure about anything, we have a team of individuals that, again, through our work with Northeastern, are really providing white glove service to ensure this is as easy as possible. When the project's done, you can leave quick feedback for the student that you select. Again, it's designed to take you under a couple of minutes. Again, we want this to be really effective. It's incredibly valuable for the students because they can learn. Again, maybe there was an area where I could improve my communication or check in more frequently, but we're also sharing that data with Northeastern so they can make sure they're best supporting the students and the employers using that real data. So what now? We want this to be easy. You can literally use the QR code at the top and post your new step right now. Again, think about that we should or I shouldn't project. Maybe you're an organization that's actively still looking for summer interns. What a great opportunity to engage a Northeastern student who could be a perfect summer intern. There's all of these great ways. And then you can also schedule time to meet with me or one of my colleagues on our team. We're happy to answer specific questions. We're happy to walk through with you and make sure this is as easy as possible. I'm going to turn it back over to the Northeastern team to see if there's anything I missed or screwed up. And then we'll also open it up for questions. Sarah, Laura, Jim, what did I get wrong?
Certainly nothing screwed up, Jeff. Thank you again for your flattering narrative of the Northeastern student. We're very proud of all of them.
It's easy. They're
Um,
amazing. It's easy to flatter them.
yeah, I think I've been following the chat a bit, some interesting questions in here. How this is different from student employment. When we think about student employment, we typically at Northeastern, we think about being employed, like students being employed by the university. It's a very internal process of student employment. This is just, I shouldn't say just, this is an innovative sort of gig marketplace between students and employers. So it's externally facing. That's the best way I can think to differentiate. Technically, the students are employed. They receive a 1099 from Parker Dewey. That's the contract. And Jeff can elaborate on that if we want to get into these nitty-gritty details of the payment process. But the students are employed during the project, but it's not an internal to Northeastern University where the students are being employed by the university or anything like that, which is what I consider student employment to be.
No, I think that's a perfect description. And just to hit that last part that you said, again, back to making this as easy as possible. The students who you select are officially employees or contractors of Parker Dewey. They're on our books. They are paid directly by us. They receive accounting document from us. There are no W-2s or 1099s for you to fill out. In addition, one thing I really want to double click on is to the extent you work with Sarah and she does an amazing job and you want to bring her in for a co-op or a full-time role or an internship, there's no conversion cost or fee. This is not like a staffing firm. We want these new StEPs to be a feeder to co-ops, a feeder to full-time hiring, a sort of a great win-win opportunities for both the learners and the employers. And again, happy to answer any other questions on the specifics, whether it's here or afterwards. There's also another question that came up in the chat I want to make sure to hit on from Hannah. What happens if the project is not completed satisfactorily? It happens. I'm really proud of the fact it happens less than 2% of the time, and that's over 10 years across programs, less than 2%. It also tends to happen right out of the gate, where a student gets selected and maybe something came up with a class, or maybe they started working on the project and really quickly realized they didn't have the right skills. In that case, we'll either refund you in full, no questions asked, or you can select another learner. It's not an issue at all. Every now and then, though, we will see, again, it's well less than 1%, where the student turns in work product that may not be up to the standards that you were expecting. In those cases, again, we'll still refund you and you can pick someone else. We'll absorb that cost, but it tends not to happen. If there's something serious, we obviously work with Northeastern, but in 10 years, it's less than a handful of cases where we've seen that happen. We also have strong policies around the use of AI and integrity. Students are agreeing, again, to be bound by the sort of integrity clauses in place at their colleges or universities. We take this stuff really seriously, but the entire process is designed to minimize that. If you remember the slide I was showing before about the assessments built in, if a student doesn't have attention to detail, you're probably going to see it in the short answer question. If they don't have the right skills, you're going to see it in the short answer question. And we're not saying that as a neg towards the students, because one of the things behind the scenes it does is it gives a student an opportunity to engage with the Career Center at Northeastern to say, I applied to these 3 projects, I haven't been picked. The Northeastern team can look at the answers and give feedback. Again, that coaching and support to ensure that the students are graduating sort of job ready for your organization. Sorry for the long-winded answer on that. I see a question from John about engaging a student for a 10-hour project, but wanting to continue it. We certainly see situations where multiple steps have been stringed together. We find it actually works really well because it provides a way. Maybe I, as a student, doing that competitive analysis, and I do a great job for the company, and maybe the company wants to have me do a follow-on project. We think that's wonderful. If your intent, though, out of the gate is to do something that's 3 months, working with the same student 10 hours or 20 hours a week, in those cases, I would advise that you work directly with sort of the Northeastern team, because that starts to look more like a co-op or an internship or something else. We're happy to coordinate with Northeastern sort of to determine the situation specific area. So again, please don't think about these new steps as a replacement for the 10-week on-site full-time summer internship or a replacement for the semester-long co-op. Rather, think about it as a discrete project that may lead to more. And again, we think that's a good thing. Northeastern folks, did I describe that effectively and in line with your view?
Yes, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, we want this to be a flexible resource, a flexible engagement format. We also want it to build to something bigger if it works for all parties, and we have avenues for that. So perfect. So many questions, Jeffrey, in the chat. I'll let you answer them if you're comfortable. I want to be cognizant of time.
I'm happy to stick over. I blocked out the hour because I know I get long-winded. But for anyone that needs to go, again, we'll send the recording, but I'll try to answer these. The next one was from someone who's already working with 5 students on other projects. On Parker Dewey, can we select a student for SEO? Again, great question. First of all, 100% yes. You can work with as many as you want. I think the person was asking where she mentioned she was told a maximum of 5. I think that was through a program funded by a foundation. I will follow up directly with that, but it hits a larger question. You can work with as many new STEP students as you would like. And in fact, we'll see a lot of organizations pick 2, 3, 4, 5 students to do a similar project. So for instance, maybe I'm trying to do industry research. I might have one student focus on one niche, another student focus on a different niche, and another student focus on a third. Or maybe it's tied to geography, or maybe I need 5 pieces of content written or analyses of 10 different companies. Those are all great examples where I might give a new step like that to 5 different students. And what I love is it gets the work done, but it also lets me compare and contrast. How did Jeff do on the project relative to Laura, relative to Jim? And it's not good, bad, but maybe because Jim is a different major, he had a different approach and sort of identified something that Jeff didn't. Again, really powerful to tease out best practices. We'll see this a lot with smaller companies where they may have, again, new step students doing things like lead generation, not cold calling or any of those things, but doing research to identify ideal customer profiles, where again, it provides this great, really efficient, effective way to test out different things. And then if Sarah emerges as that rock star, let's invite her for that longer term relationship, again, whether it's through a co-op, internship, or otherwise. Eric had a question about student aptitude and ability when it probes to different topics. How do you facilitate this process to be a better match? Eric, again, hopefully I'm answering this effectively. We view the entire new step process essentially as an assessment. So for instance, and again, this is a compliment to Northeastern and so many other schools, I think colleges and universities have done an incredible job helping students make sure their resume is professional, whether it's little things like attention to detail and no typos, or sort of the bigger things like how do I effectively present my bullets? And again, it's a great thing. But what it's also done is it's made it more difficult to sort of determine who actually has that attention to detail. I mentioned it a little bit with the one-click applications. Again, we've lost this great, valuable opportunity to assess, is Laura really interested in my organization? Did she invest the 5 minutes to answer the question? And when she answered the question, did she demonstrate those core skills like communication? So again, we think at the very, very top of funnel, it's again, not a replacement for the interview or resume or anything else, but it's a way to tease out those other skills. And then to Jim's point, when they're actually doing the project, it lets them, again, showcase their skills in action, not as hypotheticals, not as simulations, not like a case study interview, but in a very real way. In fact, we're seeing a lot of organizations use new StEPs in the interview itself. So I might have 5 students complete a project, and now when they're interviewing with the hiring manager, it's not talking about hypothetical or coursework. The hiring manager is actually asking the student about why he or she approached the new StEP project in a certain way, how they went and found the actual info. Again, much more real. It's almost like seeing someone's work before they start the job. Eric, I hope that answered your question. We got another one, how to match students against complexity and the available pool and skills. I think I'm going to try to answer this effectively, but again, please tell me if I'm missing. And again, Northeastern folks, please jump in. One of the things we found is students do a really, really good job of self-selection. So for instance, if I'm posting a project where I need help creating data visualizations in Power BI, students will say, I've used Power BI and here's how I've used it, and here's a link to some examples of my work. Again, very real, very intellectually honest. But one of the things that's been really interesting to me, and again, interesting the perspective from our friends at Northeastern on this, is we're increasingly seeing major does not equal job. So for instance, I might be hiring for a marketing role where it's tied to content creation, just picking an example. Do I need a marketing major? Maybe a philosophy major, or English, or history, or computer science would be the perfect hire for that role. This not only allows me as an organization to recruit students from those backgrounds, but when that philosophy student sees the market research or content creation, they're looking at that description and they're saying, oh, I know how to do research. I know how to craft an argument. I know how to compellingly communicate something. Let me raise my hand and apply. Think about it like going on a date. By lowering the stakes to just a date, we can drive different behaviors by the students and by the employers, making it easier for that experimentation prior to the quote unquote engagement of a summer internship or co-op, the marriage of a full-time role. So again, hope this helps a little bit, Eric. I saw a question about nonprofits, 100% yes. We see a ton of usage. In fact, one of my favorite projects we did was a nonprofit that had 2 or 3 students crawling through IRS 990 forms to help support fundraising. And they actually talked about the fact that each of the 3 students was paid $300 or $400. So the total cost was, let's say, $1,200. One of the students found one lead alone that paid for itself multiples over. They were able to sort of tease out a donor that wasn't on the radar, create a presentation that was really compelling about how this aligned to the mission of that donor, again, using public information. And again, there's some great compelling stories. I think I answered all of the questions. I do want to hit one other thing. And again, Laura, I think I missed this. You hit on a point about these being paid. I think this is really, really, really important. Every one of these StEPs is paid and paid fairly. Tends to shake out about $20 an hour, but as Jim said, fixed fee based upon completion, and all of the templates have those sort of built right in. The reason pay is important is really twofold. First of all, from a fairness perspective, they're doing real work. They're doing real work for you. They deserve to be paid. And again, it's still cost effective. But the second reason, beyond sort of the fairness question, the second reason is around accessibility. This ensures that the Northeastern student who might be working part-time jobs to make ends meet, to pay for books, to pay for rent, is still able to participate. They're not being forced to make that decision of, am I going to get an unpaid experience that's going to help me get a job, or am I going to eat this week? Or am I going to worry about rent? And that's really, really important. The other thing I would highlight on that is it encourages that exploration. And we have these conversations with organizations all the time. If I'm a student and I know I want to do investment banking and know I want to go to Goldman Sachs, am I willing or able to do sort of an unpaid work assignment for Goldman to maybe I am. Again, assuming I have the financial wherewithal. But the vast majority of students aren't sure what they want to do, especially sort of before their senior year. By offering them these paid experiences, you're giving them that opportunity to learn about your organization. Even if you don't have, again, the financial wherewithal to be on every campus and set up booths at Northeastern every day. Like, again, it's wonderful if you do, but the vast majority of organizations can't. These new steps really level the playing field and help you, again, get in front of those students, showcase to them the opportunities with your organization while also getting the extra set of hands. Laura, I saw you come off mute before I started my ramble.
No, I think you are comprehensive, actually. I was just going to say anecdotally about the paid nature of the projects. Frankly, students just have more skin in the game. And so they're going to do a good job. This is what we've observed. We offer an experiential project structure that is unpaid also within the university. And the satisfaction rates of sponsors, while still high, are often the sub note in there, or the reading between the lines in the surveying is like, I probably should have paid for this. I should have paid someone to do this. And if I could, I would. Because frankly, the students will just have more skin in the game and they'll be motivated. And they're also motivated intrinsically to make a connection with you. And we hope that you'll provide them with a good professional experience, perhaps a reference later on. I mean, this is all part of the career development pipeline that we're providing for our students. And also part of the employer journey that we provide for our Northeastern partners. Again, this is but one stop on the experiential spectrum. We have a array of engagement formats that you can partner with the university on. This is a particularly exciting and innovative one. And we hope it will scaffold into more. But if this is meeting your needs right now, fantastic. Use it.
I agree. Again, it's one of the reasons, it sounds cheesy, but it's one of the reasons I'm so excited for today's session. I mean, we obviously work with programs that don't have experiential learning embedded, that are still quote unquote figuring things out. And the fact that this is, again, one of many mosaic pieces that Northeastern offers in response to what the students are asking for and the employers is incredible. It's incredible. With everything going on in post-secondary education, this is a shining light of positivity. Sorry to be cheesy about it, but as I said at the beginning, I'm a fanboy. So again, my takeaway for anyone on the call is, if you have any we should or I shouldn't projects on your plate, perfect opportunity. Post them, take a look at the amazing candidates. Again, we're here to help. For anyone that's at that point where they're saying, uh-oh, I got a last minute request for a summer intern. Again, post your new step. To Laura's point, it's a great way to engage Northeastern students who could be your summer interns. It's not too late. For those thinking about co-op programs and trying to think through, again, next year, great opportunity to sort of dip your toe in the water. And they're all really, really, really easy and effective. With that, unless the Northeastern folks, anything y'all want to add?
A big thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey and Kristen. Really appreciate it. For those that joined, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. I second that. And I know Laura dropped my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out with any questions. I'm here to help out in any way I can about New Step.
Yeah, and again, thank you, everyone. This was absolutely amazing. For those of you who are going to be at NACE in a couple of months, look forward to meeting in 3D. And again, please don't be bashful. Let us know if you have questions along the way. We love this stuff. Everything we do, and I think I speak for Northeastern as well, is based upon real feedback. feedback we hear from learners, feedback we hear from employers, feedback we hear from faculty. So again, if you have ideas, questions, whatever, please don't be bashful, and we'll do our best to be supportive. With that, this concludes the webinar. We'll send around the recording, slides, links, and all of the other fun stuff. Have a wonderful rest of the week, everyone.